Mandatory. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 168 of the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and do you like having something mandatory in your life? Do you like it when you have a deadline? Do you like it when somebody tells you what to do? Of course not. I think nobody does, and we all strive, and especially when we are in those moments, say, my God, I wish I was free to do whatever I want to. Turns out that the moment you can do whatever you want, you know what you're looking for? Somebody to tell you, this is mandatory. Before we start, as usual, if you end up liking this episode, leaving a like and a subscribe really help. They're just one click, but they really make the difference. Thank you so much. So, why do I say that? As usual, it's based on my experience, and it's something that I've always known. Let's say that, especially myself, being the procrastinator that I am, I always strive when I know that there is a deadline. I perform at best when the time is there and you have to make stuff happen. And I will bring you the closest example to my life, and it's this, the Shower Podcast. Days where I have to go out, days where I have a plan, days where I have to make it happen. Suddenly, making an episode becomes something mandatory, even though it is every day. Every day I have to make an episode. And yet, some of these days, as happened in the last 2 episodes, I believe, I publish them like at 11:40, 50 in the night, like in the last possible moment. And this is very poetic, let's say, that, it perfectly encapsulates my person and yet the existence of the Shower Podcast. It still has a reason because, I haven't solved my problems, but it's besides that. But right now that I have just 40 minutes before I have to leave, I had to do it now because otherwise, I didn't have time and it would have been complicated. And yet the things that I have to do are absolutely the same. So what changes? It changes that this task suddenly became mandatory. You have to do it before this time. So I wondered, and I genuinely wonder, is it possible to have this kind of behavior in a natural way? So forcing yourself to do stuff without actually having somebody forcing you to do it. One of the easiest examples is also the comparison between being your own boss and having an office job. Having an office job, you have to start at a certain time, finish at a certain time. You have deadlines, you have tasks that are not necessarily determined by you. Maybe in a small portion they are, but you also have a project to whom you have to relate to. You have to report to somebody. So there are some things that just need to happen, and those things keep up the momentum and make you do the things that you need to do. Nobody wants to wake up at 7, to be in the office at 8, and yet you do it because, it's part of your job. If you are your own boss, if let's say I would be only having this as my job, well, I can wake up at any time I want. I can record the episode at whenever I want, as long as I publish it within the day, there's no problem, right? Indeed. Yet, what happens in the environments in which you are your own boss and you can choose, your times, you still end up restricting yourself to a routine. You end up restricting yourself to a set of rules just because it's simpler. It's simpler to know that something is mandatory. And this is the core message of today and the thing that I want you to start and try to implement in your life. Make it mandatory. Do you have to do a certain task within the day? Make it mandatory that by 11 it has to be finished. And in that moment, of course, when you wake up, you will still have the procrastination need to say, you know what, I'm going to wait a bit. I have time, I can do this, I can do that. When you look at the clock and you see that it's 10, suddenly you don't have time anymore and you have to make it happen. I've brought also the example of the gym, if you give yourself time, the evening comes along and you're like, I'm tired, I have to do this, I have to do that, you don't do it. If you go in the morning after waking up, nobody can stop you. If you already set that is mandatory, it has to happen, well, you just do it. You go out there and you go to the gym, you come back. The thing about forcing yourself and setting these things are mandatory is that whatever happens, you're still gonna do it. And I believe that this illusion that we give ourselves that we are good with freedom, we are good with choice, just give me time and I will do it, it's absolutely false. And so far, I've brought you only examples, that are part of my life. And you might say, yeah, sure, okay, but for you it doesn't work, but for me it works. And yeah, this might be true. You might be very effective at managing your own time. But I can bring you a much broader example that exists in a country where I have lived and in which I have studied, Italy, which handles university in a special way. Another country that I know very well, and it's my origin country, it's Romania. And in Romania, in university, you have, as happens also in American schools, you have a time of 2 weeks during a certain session, it can be the summer one or the winter one, in which you can do exams. And they are all crammed, 2 weeks to do 3-4 exams. And that gets very heavy because, you have a very short amount of time, everything gets very tight, and especially in Romania, if you fail the exam, you have to pay extra to redo it. So there is a lot of peer pressure to perform and to actually, bring home the results. There are, of course, a lot of flooded things in this method, and I'm not saying it's perfect. Yet, if you look at exclusively the amount of people, like as a group, that graduate at the same time, you would see a very high number of people that do that, especially in realms as STEM or computer science in general, this, let's say, unquote, harder universities, they have a relatively high success rate within the normal time limit. So let's say it's 3 years to do that, to finish that faculty. The people that enroll, you lose a certain amount of the start, you will lose also a part of them by the end. But overall, let's say the majority of people that continued that journey managed to complete their studies at the end of these 3 years. In Italy, this is really not what happens. And because you have somebody that, you have a good amount of people that finish indeed at the end, but they are way below the majority. And then you have moments, somebody does it 3 months after, 6 months after, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years even. And this is not because people are lazy, people are not capable of doing that. I really don't believe that it's a problem with the people that are enrolled in these universities. It's a problem with the system, because the system allows you to have multiple sessions within a broader session. As I said, there's one in summer and one in winter, but you don't have 2 weeks, you have 2 months. And you are able to choose between the first or the second session. And if you don't do these, you have one in September. And on paper, this is fantastic. It should allow you to pick perfectly. You say, okay, I'm going to do this in June. I'm going to do this in July. I'm going to prepare first for this. I have time to rehearse for the other. It's, again, on paper, it's fantastic. It's perfect. And it's the same thing we said before, On paper, the fact that you can make your own plan, it's perfect. What happens is that people still cram everything at the end, and with all the time that they had, they maybe managed to do 1 or 2 exams. Also because they strive to do the perfect one, so they try to get the perfect mark. And also in Italy, you can refuse marks. So you maybe got, let's say, to simplify it, this is not the actual things that you get in Italy, but again, for the sake of argument, you take 8 out of 10, let's say you won 9, you say, no, I don't want this. I'm gonna come again, redo the exam and try to have 9. Again, I don't want to get into this because it's not necessarily something that I like all that much, but my philosophy was always, you prepared yourself in a certain way, you showed, a certain level of preparation, whatever you had, take it and go next. Because I really believe in the fact that you have to go forward and you don't have to focus too much on the moment, especially when it comes to exams. But the reality at the end of the day is this. If you're forced to do something, you're going to perform better. Is it always true? No. But given that most of the times it is, find a way to make it mandatory. Having said that, that was all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Back to a more structured kind of episode. But I had this idea in mind for a while. And given that I suffered from it the last few days, I was like, okay, let me just put it out. Let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree. I would really be happy to learn if you believe in it. And what else? As usual, stay consistent, stay resilient, and until the next one, see you tomorrow.